guys, my name is Stefania. Welcome to my channel. So today I kind of just wanted to sit down, relax, and talk about reasons why, you know, maybe you should or should not compete in a fitness competition. This is just stuff that I wish I had known when going into it, when starting my competitions about 3 years ago. It's in no way to discourage you. It's just to kind of make sure you have all the information. And if you have any questions, just let me know and I'd be happy to help out. I hope you guys find this video useful, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will get right into the video. All right, so a little bit of history about me. I started my, I guess, fitness journey. I don't know if I would call it that, but like my, I guess my love for competing, how I started and all that stuff. I initially went into competing just thinking, I really want to look good, and I really just loved that muscular physique, and that was it. That was why I wanted to compete. And there was just, I know I'm a hardworking person. I was like, I can do it. And when I first went and saw a coach, I did a lot of research and went to a coach that was close by, and he looked at me and he said, you know, you want to do a bikini show? And I was like, no, I want to do a figure show. And he was just like, that's never gonna happen. Like, your bone structure is too small. Like, you're not gonna be as muscular as you need to be. And so you're gonna do a bikini show. And I at first was like, no, I will not be doing that. Just because, not that I don't have or didn't have respect for bikini competitors at the time, but like, they just seemed to have this stage presence of being very much like a cheerleader, and you know, it was more like a beauty pageant kind of thing, whereas I felt like the other divisions were more about, you know, dedication and just aesthetically, I wanted that larger muscle mass on myself. So little did I know that bikini competitors work just as hard. It's just a difference in your body structure in terms of what you look like. It's not, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's really just not about what you want to do. It's just kind of more of like what your body can fit into, like which category it goes into. So I trained for a full year before deciding to actually compete. I wanted to really build up my muscle. It wasn't something I was racing into. There's a difference between wanting to do a show to just do a show, and then I was more like, I want that physique. So I took a lot of time. I had a lot of struggles. I broke my jaw 2 months before a show and had to get it wired shut. And that was my very first show. So that's a story in itself I could always get into. And then I won my very first show, and I'll insert some pictures as well. But I won my very first show, and I was just hooked after that. Like, I was just like I was like, this is it. I found my sport. I'm good at this. Like, I'm gonna keep going. And then I kind of just had ups and downs. Like, I went to a national show right away. I placed 12th out of like 50 girls, which, you know, I wasn't upset about it, because the way that those girls look, I mean, when you go to a national show, you're in awe of how many girls just bring it. Like, they just look amazing. So but yeah, I mean, you learn that like judging isn't all that you thought it was going to be. It wasn't like she worked the hardest so she's going to win. It's so much more than that. It's what they prefer at the time. I've been to shows where they've told me I was too muscular. I've been to shows where they've told me I was too small, which is really hard to swallow, because you're just like, well, what are you looking for? It's not cut and dry. And then I don't know, just every show has had its ups and downs as far as the way that things are judged, the prep, like what went into the prep and all that stuff. So I still am wanting to compete. It's just a matter of expenses at this point, which I'll get into. But I do love competing. But yeah, there's so many highs and lows when it comes to competition preps, and what is going to happen and what can happen. So that is a little bit about my journey. I hope to compete soon, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so let's start with coaching. No, let's not start with coaching. Let's start with expenses. You are paying for a coach, you should be paying for a coach, just so that you don't damage your health. So you need to go to someone who knows what they're doing, and that can run you anywhere from $200 to $400 a month. You're looking at a posing coach. Sometimes you can find a coach that's doing both, or a prep that's like linked all together, but sometimes you will have to pay for an additional posing session. Posing is not my forte. It's the hardest thing for me. I am not super smiley and cheerleady. I don't have that. And then, you know, if I try to do the whole sexy thing, that doesn't work for me either. I just look pissed off. And so it's been a process for me, to say the least, as far as posing goes. So aside from that, you're looking at your competition suit, which those can run anywhere from $500 to like $1,000 for a decent one. I'm not kidding. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. So I would recommend maybe, you know, trying to rent one or find a friend that competes and see if yours, you know, work out some kind of deal. But that's expensive. You have your shoes, your jewelry, your tan usually runs about $100 to $150. You are going, makeup is going to be another $100 to $200. I've seen it go all the way up to $300. And this is all for like 2 minutes on stage, right? So you really have to decide, is that money worth it to you to do it? And let's see, what else? If you're going out of state to compete, if you're doing a national show, you're paying for a hotel, you're paying for a car, you're paying to, you know, for transportation to get around. You have to pay for your registration fee, which just to get your card to compete is around $125, plus the registration for a show, which is usually about $100. For a national show, it's like $300. Then you're looking at, you know, paying that extra money for every division you compete in. So it's, I mean, you're looking at a lot of money, a lot. Like I could cry thinking about the money. So that is something to consider, whether you think that's worth it or not. I'm not saying I think it's always worth it. I just think it's something to know. Like, it's not something you can do when you're completely broke, is all I'm saying. So all those things really add up, and you know, that's your decision, I guess. I mean, I don't regret spending money on shows because I love to do them, but you know, this year like I said, I probably won't be competing because I'm just like, I can't afford to pay that much right now to go out of state. I want to go on vacation with my husband this year. I have some family stuff going on, and I just switched, you know, the place I'm training at. So yeah, I can't afford to do it. So another really big thing to consider is time. I don't think I knew how much time goes into competing, and it's not just about time for working out, right? So it's your lifting schedule, which I lift like 6 days a week. It's your cardio schedule, which I was lucky enough to have a coach that didn't make me do like hours of cardio or anything like that. I don't think that that's necessary, and that's not how I coach. However, I do hear horror stories all the time of girls that are like, I wake up at 4 a.m. to do 2 hours of cardio before work, and then I have to go back to the gym after. So it's all dependent on your coach. It's dependent on how your body works, what you respond to. But just thinking about that, that's a lot of time already throughout your day. You have to think about the time it takes you to prep your food, your grocery shopping. But food prep can take a few hours, and that's another time-consuming thing. So it's a very time-consuming sport that you have to really schedule a lot around. So you have to be able to make the time, be an organized person, or else it's just gonna be miserable. But you know, it's the time for all that. It's the time as far as traveling to a show. If you're doing that, you have to get there a few days early. So just a lot of time-consuming stuff that goes into it. Another thing is posing. I am someone who has to practice, you know, usually about an hour leading up to a show of posing time, because it just doesn't come naturally to me, and I just really need that help. So you're thinking about your cardio time, your lifting time, your food prep, along with your posing schedule. Those are all time consuming things. So that's just something to be aware of. It's not just, oh, she works out and she just goes to the gym and then she's ready to go. It's a lot more that goes into the entire process. I would say another big reason, or not big reason, but like another thing to think about is if you are competing to win, or you competing because you want to look your best, is it a challenge? Like really think about what it is that you're trying to do. Because I'm someone who likes to compete. I want to win at anything I'm doing, and that was a really hard pill for me to swallow with this sport. I can go to one show and a judge will tell me like, you know, you look great, blah, 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 and do really well. And then I can go and compete 2 months later and be told like, you don't have the physique, like you're too muscular or you're too small. And that's really hard because you're just like, well, this is all the same division. Why are the judges, you know, not rewarding me for how much work I put in? And you just have to realize like, you can't think like that. Like you'll drive yourself crazy and you'll just end up super upset, which is probably why you'll start eating afterwards. So you have to be able to, when looking at competing, obviously try your best, but don't get super discouraged based on judges, because you never know what they're gonna think of you. It's not a cut and dry, like, if I bring in this package, they'll reward me with a first place trophy. No, it's a crapshoot for the most part. I mean, not when a local show is usually a little bit more easy to tell who's gonna win or place well, but at a national level show or at a pro level, it's everyone looks amazing, and you know, you just never know how you're gonna do. So that's something that I had a hard time learning. And now I kind of just try to enjoy the process a little bit more. I still work my ass off and try to do my best, but if I don't, I try not to get super upset either, because it's definitely happened to me, and I've, you know, I don't want to, it wasn't worth quitting. You know what I mean? Like, I was just kind of like, okay, I'll get it next time, you know, and that's it. So another thing to look at is if you are in good health before you start competing, meaning, how do you look at food? Are you somebody who is, you know, a binge eater? Are you, you know, do you have trouble with food? Do you get obsessed about food? Because if you are, this may not be for you, because it will kind of intensify those, you know, problems. And, you know, like I said, it's just a season. So it's like after the show's over, what are you going to be left with? Because you don't want to end up being super upset afterwards and being your metabolism damaged, you having emotional eating problems, and then you just kind of ruined all that hard work you put in over, you know, over that feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like you go do a show and it's super exciting, but once it's over, you're like, well, now what? And you can't eat like it's a free-for-all after the show. You'll completely ruin all the progress you put in. And that's probably the most, you know, the biggest thing when looking at people and feeling really, not bad, I don't want to say bad for them, but like just really sorry for them, I guess. That it's unfortunately it's a mental game, and if you're not mentally strong and have a good relationship with food, you'll end up, you know, being worse off than when you first started, you wanted to compete. And then another thing is if you push yourself too hard and do back-to-back shows, you could always end up having metabolism problems. So really finding a good coach is the most important part of the whole process, I think. To be able to walk you through and teach you, and being able to reverse diet right after your show. You can't just like quit as soon as you're done doing the show. That's just not how it works. That's not how your body works. It needs time to adjust. And, you know, it can be dangerous. You're messing with your mental and your physical health. So you have to make sure that those are in good places before you decide to compete. Another big thing to look at is your relationships. Are they strong enough to go through something like this? Are you strong enough to be able to say like, I want competing to be part of my life. It's not going to be my whole life. Because I've seen people not, and I struggle with this too, having the balance to where you can hang out with friends and family while getting ready for a show, but there's definitely people that can't do that, where they're just like, I'm pretty much just like locked in my own room, and I go to the gym, I stay focused, and I have no outside life. And I just don't think that that's worth it. You're throwing away a relationship for 2 minutes on stage, essentially. I mean, I don't think that that's a smart thing to do, and I think it's lonely. I mean, I can get really in my head, and I've had my husband, I've had my mom, you know, and kind of just be like, hey, like, you need to chill out. Like, this is just supposed to be, you know, a fun, you know, kind of thing for you, and you're making it into something that it's not. And, you know, you're not enjoying the process at all. And so if you're not enjoying it, then what's the point of doing it? So I would say really making sure you look at your relationships and say, like, who's going to be able to support me, and am I going to be able to balance those relationships while competing? It's not their fault that you're hungry, so you can't use that excuse. Like, I know plenty of people that do, and I'm just like, that's not fair. Like, you can't, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna be a bitch to everybody. Should not fly. Like, no, you decided to compete. That was your decision, not your family's decision, not your friend's decision. So, you know, you need to look at, I guess not look at what type of person you are, but like just be able to check yourself throughout the process, and even before getting started, kind of think about, like, am I a 0 to 100 person, and how am I going to be able to balance my life with this? Because again, this shouldn't be your whole life. All right, so I did just want to take a second and let you guys know that I do love competing. I know this video didn't make it sound like I love competing, but I just wanted you guys to have all the information that I wish I would have known when going into it. So, one, I've made great relationships through competing. You are amazed at how many girls you meet, or guys, I guess, if you're looking at a different competition. But you'll make amazing friendships from people all over the world. And those are something I treasure. It's amazing how you can go backstage and people, maybe not before prejudging, everyone's a little bit like Miss Congeniality, where they're super nice and they're like, I really hope you fall on your face. But after prejudging, everyone's super nice, and you really get to know people from all different kinds of backgrounds, and it's super inspiring just to be around that many people that love the same thing you do, that are super passionate. I've learned so much about myself. Who would have thought I'd get on stage in a little string in front of hundreds of people? I definitely didn't. So it's great because it's challenged me to do things that I never thought I would be able to do. Yes, I love the way I look when I'm on stage, but that's a very short-lived part. It's really 2 minutes. It's that day. Those pictures that you look at that you are so inspired by, that lasts a day. So, you know, that's another thing to look at too. It's just, your body changes so fast throughout the process. And then I've learned so much more about nutrition and food, and I've learned how to be a better coach through this. I've learned how strong I am. So it's given me a lot back too. So there's so many pros and cons of the sport, and if you want to know any more information about it, or how to make things cheaper with competing, or competing on a budget, I'd love to do a video like that as well, because I am a super, like, cheap, now I want to say I'm a cheap person, but like, I save money trying to, you know, doing different things with shows. So, yeah. Those, you know, I just wanted to explain how much I really do love the sport, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm trying to discourage you. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful. Let me know if you want to see anything else or have any questions about competing. I'd love to help you guys out. And please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.